Hey guys, welcome to my channel CodeFleet, and today we're going to be talking about functions. What are functions? And if you don't know me, I'm Vinay. Welcome to my channel if you're new here. So let's start with the functions. So what are functions and why do we use them? Okay, so what are functions? This is the first thing that everyone asks if they want to learn what functions are. Okay, what functions does? It's kind of a wrapper, and you put the entire code in here, and you just call that function somewhere, and you just don't have to write that piece of code everywhere. If you want to use them, you just write that piece of code inside a function, and you call that particular function anywhere you want to use that code. So it's really helpful, and it also keeps us fast in the coding, and it also save us time. Okay, so what is the syntax for that? The first keyword that we use is def, def, that is define. Define, the another thing is function name parenthesis. You can also put here parameters, and those are different things. First I'll tell you without parameters. Okay, so here for I in range 0 to 10, we are going to do the same thing here, print I. Okay, so here is one thing, that in function you also use a return statement, but not every time, and you can just return everything, any variable, or it can be anything that you want to return. But here in this function we do not need to return anything, because we have a print statement here, and the moment we run this function, we call this function, this print statement will be printing that has been put inside it. Okay, so if we do this function does not do anything. Why? Because this function has not been called. So how do we call a function? We just write that function name and parenthesis, and if we run the cell, the same thing that a for loop can do is done in a function. Okay, so let's say if you want to use that loop again, you are going to write those 2 lines here, but no, in this case I'm just going to do the same thing that I did above. I'm just using this 2 words here and parentheses, and okay, yes. So it's kind of really helpful. You can practice with other things too. Just whatever I taught you in the previous videos, just get those pieces of code and put them in a function, and just try to run them like this. So this is a function without the parameters. So what are parameters? Let's take the same function. So parameters are those kind of hidden variables that you can use inside a function, and when you call that function, you pass those global or local variables in these parameters, and those parameters will take that places, and these parameters will take places of that variables that you passed in it. But I guess you won't understand like that. Let's see it in the code. Okay, let's take parameter 1 and parameter 2. So here we are going to do parameter 2, and this is parameter 1. Okay, so we do not have to pass that value now. If we run this function name here, okay, so if you pass a parameter while defining the function, you have to pass those parameters while calling the function. So here we do not have any variable, so let's create a variable. A is equals to 0 and b is equals to 10. It's going to be the same thing that we did with the previous one. So we pass 0 and 10. This is first parameter, this is second parameter. It's going to return the same thing. Okay, this x. Okay, we have the same answer here, but what we did is just we used these variables in these parameters, and these parameters here took the value 0 and 10 and passed it here 0 and 10, and it becomes like 0 and 10. It becomes like that after passing those parameters. So these are the function with parameters, and you can also do like in the previous video where I told you that what are lists and how do you append something in the list, we are going to do the same thing here. Okay, let's do def append, and here comes our list. List 1, it's kind of a greeny. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to iterate over some range for I in range 0 to 10, and we are going to append z dot append I. Okay, so you must be thinking, what a z here? If you want to use something inside the function, you have to define a global scope variable. If you don't know what is a global scope variable, let me tell you. This thing here, z variable, is a global scope variable because this z can be used in the entire code anywhere you want to use it. It doesn't matter, you just put this variable there and it will be used. But if you define any variable inside a function, you just have the authority to use that function, to use that variable in the same function. You can't use that variable anywhere you like. Okay, if we run this cell, we're gonna get z filled with the numbers from 0 to 9. Okay, this is empty here. I would like to ask you why. Just pause this video and try to guess why this is empty. Because yes, it's true, we appended this I. Okay, so this I is from range 0 to 10. Let me tell you why. Because we did not call that function. And if we did not call that function, it's not going to work, right? So let's put a list here. And why do we put list here? Okay, we have argument here, but we did not pass that argument anywhere. So can we leave it empty? Let's try this. It's saying that append one missing one required positional argument list 1. Okay. So do not use anything that you just don't want to use. Okay, you don't do that. Okay, so if now we check the z, it's going to be a list from 0 to 9. These values have been appended to this list. This list was empty at first, but now it's filled with 0 to 9. So that's what you can do with the loops, and you can also put some conditions here, try to play with them. It's really going to be a fun. At last, I'll be making a function here which is called a Pythagoras theorem. I really think that you have heard about Pythagoras theorem in your maths in somewhere. Okay, so import math. Just go with this. So let's define a function Pythagoras theorem. Okay. If you know what Pythagoras theorem is, you probably know that it includes hypotenuse, base, and perpendicular. So let's take those parameters: hypotenuse, perpendicular, and base. Do not consider it in this do not consider this as a something that you learn. It's kind of a practice question. If you understand all of the things that I taught you above here, so you can easily do this here, because now you know what these parameters are, what this thing are, and what is this def is. Okay, so let's make a variable hypotenuse is equal. If you know the formula, what is formula, then you can easily use this math.sqrt. What this sqrt is, it's a square root of, and I'm not going to explain this function here because it's your work to see what the function of the what Pythagoras theorem is. Just go and see. Okay, now we use return statement. We can just use this hype. It's just assigning. I'm just assigning this value here in the. We are going to return this hype here. Hypotenuse, not height. So if we run this function, okay, we have to call that function here Pythagoras theorem. So let's take some random value 3, 2, 1, and if we get this answer 2.23606. If you do not believe me, you can just go online and ask for Pythagoras theorem and try to get a pen and paper and solve this. So you just can do this work in 3 lines of codes and just pass those values and you get the answers. It's really kind of easy. Now I know this is a short tutorial, you don't learn everything here, but just try to play with these things that I told you. It's really going to be helpful in the future. You can easily do everything with them that I just told you, and if there is something left, you will learn them along the way. Don't worry about that. I will teach you everything that will be helpful in the near future. So that concludes this function part, and thank you so much, and keep visiting me, and I'll be posting this notebook in the description down below, and please go to my GitHub repository, fork the repositories. Thank you so much. See you next time. Bye.